You're listening to Zap Nights Zap Chats, a monthly video game discussion. Hey guys, and welcome to an episode of Zap Chats for August 2020. Can you guys believe it's August already? Today I'm kind of flying solo, partially because Kaylee's busy, and partially because I wanted to talk about the behind the scenes of what we do as far as Zap Night goes, and some of the work that goes on from my end that you guys may not really know about. And I think it'd be kind of fun to explore that. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. First off, like we always start off with for Zap Chats, I wanted to talk about what we've been playing. And so far, it's been about halfway through the month, so we've been playing Animal Crossing. It's been going pretty good. A lot of people jumping into the chat and hanging out on Twitch. It's been awesome. There's been a lot of really neat people that I've met along the way, so that's a lot of fun. Also, a lot of villagers that we've met along the way. There's been, really, I'm over 200 villagers now, so over 200 tickets, so I've seen over 200 villagers. I can't say I've seen anybody super rare, but I've seen a few of them that may be a little more desirable for some people than others. Out of the 7 villagers that I've been hunting for, I've got all but 2, so we're down to the last 2, and I have a feeling they're going to be really hard to find, especially once we get down to this one. But I still have the rest of the month to find them, so we'll see how it goes. It's not really a huge deal if I don't find them. I just wanted to spend some time playing Animal Crossing and hanging out on Twitch playing Animal Crossing, so it's been going good from that point of view. Kaylee has been playing some Pokemon Pearl. She's been trying to beat it. She keeps telling me that she's going to have it done by the end of the month. Fingers crossed that actually happens. I don't really have a backup plan, so hopefully she gets that done so that we can review it here at the end of the month and have a podcast episode for you guys September 1st. The plan is after Pokemon, we're going to be starting to play Final Fantasy VIII. Not really sure if for sure we're going to play Final Fantasy VIII. We've been throwing around a couple other games that we're going to try and play, but as of right now, the plan is to start playing Final Fantasy VIII. We're going to need probably 2 months to beat that one, maybe more, but in the meantime, we'll be playing some smaller games while we're playing Final Fantasy VIII. So, yeah, you guys can look forward to that. So, now, to talk about what goes on behind the scenes a little bit, I'm going to try and keep it interesting. From my perspective, what I think you guys see from your perspective is basically I play a video game and then I talk about it on a podcast episode and upload it and it's done. But there's a lot going on that runs this thing. Most of it is done by me. Lori does a lot of other work that kind of encompasses everything Zap Night. So Zap Night in itself is the podcast, which is what started everything, but it's also kind of evolved into the Twitch streaming, which we're kind of getting a group of people that are continuously jumping in, and I'd like to think that we're starting a little community, and I'm really enjoying meeting with you guys as I'm playing these games. So if you're not watching us on Twitch, I really do encourage you to check us out over there. I stream pretty much anything I can possibly stream. If there's a way to do it, I will try. Also, we have our Instagram, which has taken on kind of a role outside of the other things. Basically, Instagram has been pictures of our collection, and Lori does a lot of those pictures. She's awesome at building those beautiful layout designs. I don't know how you want to frame it. Oh, there, framing it. Framing the video game. She does amazing work. It's awesome. So yeah, check us out over on Instagram. You can see all of the work that we do over there. We post pictures over on Instagram once a day. Throughout the week. We don't really post on the weekends. We're always posting pictures over there. We also post a picture for every single podcast episode, at least for the review episodes. just a neat little photo that represents what that podcast episode is. So like last podcast episode was on Animal Crossing, so we had an Animal Crossing photo that we did up and posted on that. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into those. And then we also have a couple other social media, Facebook and Twitter. We actually don't use Twitter a whole lot. Twitter basically has turned into just Instagram gets pushed to Twitter, and that's about it. I don't really know how to use Twitter a whole lot. I'm sure I could try harder, but I just don't. So I'm sorry for you guys who follow us on Twitter and we never post anything over there. It's just I don't try very hard. So if you really want updates and more information, our website's like the go-to place for that. Also, Instagram too, we kind of keep people updated there. But I mean, listening to the podcast episode, where obviously we keep you guys updated as much as possible on everything. So then Facebook as well. So we also use Facebook. Facebook also just feeds from Instagram, but every now and then we also do live Facebook videos. We typically do that through Twitch. So like Twitch and Facebook at the same time trying to stream. Lately, because I've been using Streamlabs, it's been freezing up on me. So I'm trying not to do Facebook also quite as often, but it's kind of neat that I could do either or also. So if there are some people on Facebook only that would like to have, you know, more exclusive content, we could probably work something out like that. But you guys gotta let us know. So podcast production, beating the game comes first. We have to be able to beat the game. When I stream, I have to set up all of the, you know, the system. I have to have the game, and we have it streaming as officially as possible. You'll find out when we talk about the Pokemon podcast episode. I had to use an emulator for the Pokemon streaming because there's no easy way to stream official hardware for playing the DS and the 3DS. It's not super easy. I wish it was a lot easier, but it's not. So I had to use an emulator, but that doesn't mean that we don't own the official games. It's just that was the way I wanted to, you know, I wanted to stream it and hang out with you guys, and that was the only way to do it. So that's what we did. But for the most part, when we play a game, I'm playing it on original hardware. I have a couple different capture cards that I've used. I have a decent computer. It's like 7 years old now, but when I built it, it was about as good as I could possibly afford. Kind of thinking about building a new one soonish, but this one's been doing just fine. So, no need to stress there. I haven't really played any PC games, though I could. I just haven't yet. But that'll be something maybe in the future if we decide we want to play a PC game. After we get finished playing the game in its entirety, me and Kaylee or whoever plays the game with us, we sit down, we fill out, I have a sheet where we fill out all of our notes on each of the topics that we discuss, and we sit down and review it. So from there, I do a little bit of editing, mostly like levels to make sure that it sounds good. And I cancel out any weird noises that are going on in the background. I typically listen to it all the way through. I take out a lot of the ums and and any other weirdness. But anymore, we've been pretty good about that. It's taken a few years, but we actually I don't have to edit a whole lot. Like a little bit here and there, but I don't have to edit a whole lot. If you guys remember, we used to do videos for all of our podcast episodes where we set up like our table and we had our chairs set up and those were really nice. But once COVID started, that was kind of more difficult to do. It was already really difficult to set all that up every single episode. It was only once a month, but like that comes really fast. And half the time I was setting all that up maybe a couple minutes before Kaylee got here, because it's usually Kaylee who does it with us. But yeah, it was really difficult to set all that up. So we've kind of cut that away. I would like to start doing some sort of video again but maybe not quite as elaborate as what we used to have, but it's kind of a work in progress. The biggest thing about the video, it's two things. Like, it's really nice to have the video because I want the people who are watching the podcast episodes on YouTube to have something in front of them to actually look at while I'm talking. However, because it is as a priority, it's a podcast, audio only, that is kind of the preferred way of doing things. It's a lot easier on my end. The video production is usually kind of tedious because we have to, pull down the video, but then we also have to sync it with the audio that we recorded on our audio software because it sounds a lot better than trying to do it simultaneously. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so we don't do the videos a whole lot anymore, but we may be doing some more of that in the future. Just kind of depends on how things are going. It's also a little more difficult to do videos with people if we're talking and reviewing games over Skype or Discord or something. So, again, the video thing isn't priority. It's mainly just as long as I get audio, I'm perfectly happy with that. So if you guys really like the videos for our podcast episodes, let me know. And if I get enough feedback about it, maybe I will pick that back up again sooner. As of right now, it's probably going to be mostly just audio for the podcast episodes. Obviously, after we finish the audio portion, I upload it and get that all done on the website side. It does get uploaded to SoundCloud primarily, and they host it for us on our website. And that's where it gets pushed from our website to all of the podcast apps. So, pretty much any podcast app should have our podcast episodes. But if there's one that it doesn't have our podcast episodes, let me know so that I can fix that. Because I want to try and be as in many places as possible. Yeah, so outside of the podcast, all the videos that we do for all the streaming sessions that I do, they all get pushed to our secondary YouTube channel called Zap Night Plays. That has playlists of everything. Every game that we've played for the podcast, I've uploaded to the Zap Night Plays channel, and they're in a playlist order. I haven't really done much with them outside of putting them there. They're really for an archive purpose on my end. But lately, I've been going through and kind of snipping up the entirety of those videos to make more of an interesting video out of them, to kind of tell the story of my progression through the game and have it be entertaining at the same time. We did do that with Resident Evil 1. And I really liked how that turned out. I haven't really got a lot of feedback on it, but I did a lot of goofy edits in there, and it was a lot of fun to build, and it was a lot of fun to re-experience my playthrough of the game. So if you guys want to check that out, let me know what you think. And if you want more of that kind of stuff, I would be interested in hearing about that, because I do have Metroid Prime in the works for that same concept, and there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, we have to literally watch the entire stream over again to find the good bits. And when I say we, it's just me. So yeah, I'm spending, lots and lots of hours not only playing the game through, but then rewatching everything to build these little videos, even though I've only done it for Resident Evil so far, and I'm working on one for Metroid Prime. But if it's something that does good and you guys are enjoying it, I would like to do more. It just kind of depends on your guys' feedback, I don't want to have to put all this extra work into something that nobody really cares about, The podcast is a little bit different. From my point of view, the podcast is different in that opinion because I'm going to play games and talk about them regardless of your opinion. But all the extra stuff on the side, I mean, as long as it's doing good, I'll keep doing that. So, those videos, we may be doing more of that in the future. On the Zap Night Gaming YouTube channel, that is where we post all of our videos of the podcast. So we have the Zap Chats and we have the review episodes. Both of those get posted on our YouTube channel. Again, the majority of it is audio only, so it's not a whole lot different than if you were to listen to it on your podcast app. It just depends on how you want to consume your media. We also do the thrift shop games over on the Zap Night Gaming YouTube channel. Those we usually do in sets of 3, so I invite somebody over, we play about 3 games on the system, and then I cut those videos up into the 3 different games, and then I upload those in the in-between weeks of the podcast uploads. So the schedule typically goes on the 1st, we have a review episode, then on the 7th, we have a thrift shop episode, and that's just on YouTube. On the 15th, we have the Zap Chats, and then on the 21st, we have another thrift shop review. And again, that's just on YouTube. So YouTube has, at least 4 videos going up at any given month, and then a few extras thrown in here and there. But then it all starts over again on the 1st with another review episode. So that's kind of our schedule, how we've been doing it. I have thoughts of wanting to expand more podcast stuff. I would really like to do some interviews. I know I've talked about it before in the distant past, but I really would like to start another section. So like we have the reviews and we have the Zap Chats. I would really like to do a gamer interviews podcast thing where we sit down with other gamers and just talk about them and their story and their history on video games and what they love and what they collect and that kind of stuff. So if that sounds like fun, let me know, because again, the more feedback I get on that, the more excited I'm going to be to deliver on it. I really just want to get started on it. I mean, there's a lot of people on Instagram that I'm constantly in contact with that I would really like to do the interview section for. And there are other people that have specifically requested that. And it's not that I'm ignoring those people. Can I tell them that, it's something that's in the works? But it really is like, that kind of interview doesn't really fit on Zap Chats. But also, it should be its own thing. It doesn't really fit anywhere except its own thing. So again, if that sounds like fun, and maybe if you're interested in being interviewed for that, let me know. I would be curious to talk to you and see what you like about video games. So let's talk about what it takes to set up a podcast. Now, this is outside of what I do podcast to podcast episode. That's already done. Like, I've already figured it out. It's kind of streamlined now, but it took a lot of work to get to that point. And even from the beginning, I had the concept in mind of wanting to start a podcast. And then it's like, okay, how do we do this? We have to have a website. Well, how does the audio files get hosted? Oh, well, we have to have a hosting site. How do the files go from the hosting site to the website or to iTunes? And all that takes a lot of research and figuring out. That's just the software side and getting started up. Then you also have to buy all of the equipment. For just doing the podcast, I started off with, I kind of talked it in our very, very first episode where we introduced ourselves. I have the same mics that I started out with back then. They're these newer NW700 mics. I bought them because they could be powered over USB. So everything from those days was all powered with these USB powered mics. I had found out after then that those weren't handling the audio very well. There was a lot of background noise. There was a lot of echoing. There was time delay issues. And all of that was a struggle. And then I managed to find a mixer. I don't know the exact make and model of the mixer. It's hidden in a closet, so I can't jump and just look at it. But I found a mixer on Facebook Marketplace, and I traded a guy a handheld Windows tablet that he wanted for a picture booth. And this guy was like a DJ for weddings and stuff. So he had this mixer, but he was willing to trade for this Windows computer. And it was a perfect trade because I was not doing anything with this computer anyway. I brought home that mixer, and it was like night and day difference. So people, if you're just starting off your podcast, yeah, the USB mics are fine, and the Yetis and all that, they sound okay, but man, nothing beats actual good audio hardware. And if this is going to be a long-term thing, you're going to want to move over to decent audio hardware. Now, that's just from the podcast side. And a lot of that stuff was stuff that I researched to try and figure out. But then streaming wise, we started off without, it was just the podcast mic, which kind of sounded crappy back in the day, and a terrible capture card that I found at a garage sale for like $5. The capture card didn't work very well. If you watch our very first stream from Artanelico, you can tell that it does not work very well. I think I also used it for maybe a couple others until I decided to just fork out the money for an Elgato capture card, and ever since things have been better. After a while, I decided that I wanted to have a camera, and the camera I found at a Goodwill. I mean, these things you don't have to put a ton of money into. It's just a little bit to help add to the experience from the viewer's perspective. I would like to upgrade my camera at some point, but it's not priority. Like, it works. Once I started getting and using the camera for our streaming, I wanted to have some lights. And we also were doing the video podcast episodes at the time, so we really needed to have some sort of lighting in our game room to be able to have a decent experience. And I found a light set on eBay for, I want to say, $50. They're not the best lights, but they work. They turn on, they have a diffuser on it, and it works. And so I've been using it ever since. We've moved from doing just the podcast episodes to the Twitch stuff, and I've even included a green screen for some of our Twitch stuff because it just looks nice when you're doing some of the full resolution videos streaming. I actually already had the green screen because we bought a set of canvases. When we first bought the canvases, the intention was to paint on them for Halloween. So we would paint up these big, murals that we would put outside for Halloween, and then kids would come to the door and take a picture at the mural. And we did that for about 2-3 years, something like that. But one of the packages that we bought of canvas came with a green screen, and I didn't really think I was ever going to use it. We actually had it in the car for the longest time just as extra blanket or to wrap things in for sliding into the car. And once I thought, if I can use this on Twitch, that'd be great. I pulled it out of the car, hung it up on some light stands, and it works. It's not always the best. Admittedly, I know that it's not always the best, but it doesn't look terrible, and I do what I can to make it look okay. Just adding to that experience for you guys so that it's better than just garbage coming out of a random basement studio. Now, if there's somebody listening to this and you are thinking about getting a podcast started, or if you're thinking about, starting Twitch and doing live streams and you have some questions, let me know because I would love to help. It took me so much time to figure all these little things out that if you want some help and you're legitimately trying to set something up, I'm more than happy to share my knowledge with you because all that work that I spent setting up and figuring it out, if I can share it with somebody, it just adds to the value of my time when I did that. I mean, setting up the podcast alone, I struggled with for so long. I watched so many YouTube videos on how to do this, and it took some time to fill in all the bits and pieces that you can get from those videos to figure out the entire story of how to set it up. So again, if you want to set up a podcast or if you want to set up Twitch, I'm more than happy to help you guys out. More than happy to. We do a lot of stuff, and it takes a lot of time to put all this together. I also have a full-time job. I mean, I'm an IT guy full-time. I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm home by 6. And, I'm playing games whenever I possibly can. I'm editing these podcast episodes as best as I possibly can. Lori does a lot of photographs, but we typically, for Instagram, we take a bunch of pictures at once, and then we upload them slowly, one by one, throughout the course of however long it takes, however many pictures we take. But those days that we take all those pictures are usually pretty tedious because we want it to look nice, and, we want to portray this professionalism as best as possible. And even though, it really is just a hobby, it encompasses so many aspects of our lives, and it really does take a lot of time. I guess what it boils down to is that it takes a lot of time to put everything together for you guys to enjoy. I mean, we really do enjoy doing this kind of stuff because we're content creators. I've always been making weird stuff on the internet, and it turned out that making a podcast fits me really well because I want to play all these games anyway. I have a huge collection of video games, and I need to be playing them at least one a month. And so far, I've been doing pretty good. I mean, I've been keeping up with it for the past 4 years, and hopefully keep going. There's been days that I will sit down and talk with Kaylee or talk with Lori about not wanting to continue just because it is a lot of work. And we may not always be super motivated to do it, but at the end of the day, when we have a full podcast episode finished and it went really well and we get a lot of feedback from it, it really does make us feel better about keeping up with it for as long as we have. I'm seeing all of the stats on the different apps that I have and all the different websites that we have stuff posted to. So I know that you guys are out there. I know that you're seeing our content. Of course, I would love to hear from you, but I completely understand that not everybody wants to take time to communicate, and I totally get it. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean, if there is something that, if you got a cool idea that you want us to try out, if you want to review a game with us, I mean, I'm down. Just, send us a message and we'll try and work something out for sure. For sure. All of our games lately have been more nostalgic for me, and I'm trying really hard to get out of that. So games similar to, we've been playing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and that episode's coming out next, hopefully. And, that's not a nostalgic game for me, although it's still Pokemon. I mean, it still is, within that nostalgia theme because I'm a Pokemon fan. But I do want to try and play more games that are not nostalgic to me in any way, games that I've never played before that I otherwise wouldn't have. Resident Evil is a good example because I never played Resident Evil. I never cared about Resident Evil, and now I'm a fan of it. I really like Resident Evil. Resident Evil 1 was an amazing game. And then I played Resident Evil 4, and it wasn't quite as good as Resident Evil 1, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. So I do want to play more Resident Evil games, but our priority has always been Final Fantasy. And so, we want to try and get through all of the Final Fantasy games. And that's really what we're sticking to. So, RPGs have always been our core. However, we've been throwing in a lot of non-RPG games throughout the few years that we've been doing this. So yeah, I mean, I really would like to play more games that I haven't played before as a kid, or, I also want to play games that aren't quite as popular too, which is difficult because obviously if my options are, for instance, BioShock or Untitled Goose that I've never played, I don't know, or just other random games that I've never played and have no idea what they're about. Like, obviously I'm going to go with the one that is a AAA title over something that might be an indie game, but I need to break away from that and try more games. But it's tough because I'm spending a lot of time at work. I'm spending a lot of time, playing other games. So, there's only so much time in the day to play games. So otherwise, last month we had our 4-year anniversary or birthday of Zap Night, however you want to look at that. We did do an event on Instagram where we were posting all of our previous game review games as pictures, and that went really well. There was a lot of people on there that started following us, and I really do appreciate that. If you guys are listening to us from that event, you guys are awesome. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out our Instagram because you'll see all of our pictures from the video games that we've played throughout the past 4 years. I mean, that's at this point, that's 66 episodes, well, 67, I guess, with Animal Crossing. I really do appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast. It makes my time worth it. I would be doing all this anyway because that's just who we are. Like I said, I'm a content creator, so I would be playing these games anyway. I would be not necessarily reviewing them if I didn't have the podcast, but it does give me a reason to sit down and talk about these games. And, I enjoy meeting new people and talking to everybody who's in the Twitch streams. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, but I did want to tell you guys some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes because we put so much time into this and so much effort, and you guys might not be aware of it. It really does take a lot of work into this. I mean, I try and keep it as minimal as possible because I want to push this stuff out as quickly as I can, but I still want to have a decent production level. I still want to be as professional as I feel like I can be with a low budget, with doing everything myself or, with the help of a few other people. But I mean, for the most part, it's mostly me, just Danny. Kaylee does she's been starting up the Discord, which is really awesome. I may post a link to that in the description. Check it out. It's pretty much ready to roll. We just need to get a few key people in there and talking to have content for people to jump in to discuss. But yeah, if the link is down there, check it out. If you want to join us on Discord, that would be awesome because we kind of want to do some stuff, some more interaction on Discord where I've been talking about maybe doing some VHS movie nights where I hook up my VCR and stream a movie on Discord. I don't really know how well that's going to go, but it sounds like a lot of fun. So if that sounds like fun, make sure you let us know and jump into the Discord. I'll try and put the link in the description. If it's not there, then something's not ready yet, but it should be there. Yeah, but Kaylee set all that up. Outside of that, she obviously has to play the games with me. But outside of that, she just has to show up for the podcast. And I mean, I so appreciate it. Showing up for the podcast is a big one. I mean, everybody who's been a guest on the podcast knows that it's not always super easy to sit down in front of a microphone and sit and chat about a video game for an hour, sometimes more. 2 hours, I think, was our Final Fantasy VII episode was huge. But, I do appreciate everybody who does that, and it's so amazing that I can find these friends of mine who want to do this with me because it's not always the easiest thing. And there's been a few people that I've asked to do a podcast with me, and they'll straight up tell me I don't have the time to play a game, and I completely respect that. So, like I said, we have a ton of games in our backlog that we have planned to play. I don't know how many we're going to get to. I don't know which ones we're going to get to and in which order we're going to get to them. That typically is a discussion all on its own. Me and Kaylee typically sit down from time to time to go over the schedule and try and get an idea of how the next few months are going to play out. It's been so tough because Kaylee is also a mom and, she spends a lot of time trying to get her kid to behave, which is not always easy. Any parents out there will know that it's not always easy. So, I get it. And that's why it's great to have other people that jump in and are able to fill a couple time slots where Kaylee might not be able to. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little behind the scenes of Zap Night and everything that we do. I mean, there's probably more that I'm forgetting that I like to talk about, and I'll listen to this back and be like, crap. But, it's fine. It's fine. This is fine. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Look out for our next podcast episode, which should be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. I've already finished the game. I'm just waiting for Kaylee to do it. Outside of that, make sure you follow us on all of our Facebook, social media, on all of our social media, Twitch. We're there. We're hanging out, and it's a lot of fun. So check us out. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.